Hi, so I'm Corrine Ebony of Corrine Ebony Coaching, and I'm just so happy to be here to be able to have this chat and to see how I can help. If there's any like gems and pearls of wisdom or some nuggets that might be able to help.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Corrine, for joining us on this podcast today. So first of all, I just want to start by asking you a little bit about your background and kind of what you're doing at the moment.
So my background, I worked for quite a long time in the civil service. I'm currently now working in the NHS in a support role. Alongside that, I obtained my qualification so I'm a certified coach. So that's enabled me to set up my business, my practice of life and mindset coaching.
Hmm, that's really interesting, actually, because you mentioned mindset coaching. Is that
Yeah.
correct? I've not
Yes.
heard of that. I've heard of life coaching.
hmm
Do you want to tell us a little bit more about what that actually is or how that differs from life coaching?
Life.
Yeah.
Yes, so they go quite well together, but in a nutshell, mindset coaching is literally about adjusting the mindset and sometimes lifelong held beliefs that we have about ourselves. And so just getting into that and to basically reprogram and reframe and reshape our mindset and beliefs that we have about ourselves, about the world in general.
Yeah, I think, life can be pretty challenging these days. I don't know. I think I'm speaking for a lot of us that, being able to get some guidance with kind of our decision making, how we see the world, how we see ourselves. I mean, is that the sort of thing that you kind of assist with? And if you do, what are the kind of techniques and mechanisms that you help put in place for us to overcome those challenges?
You're so right. It is so tricky right now. Life isn't easy, but it's about seeing that on the one hand, it's not easy, but on the other hand, is beautiful and it's amazing. So it's about focusing, not ignoring negativity. Say, for example, if you speak about yourself, if you might have made a mistake, it's about not remaining in that mistake and then using that mistake to beat down on yourself and form a negative narrative about yourself, but taking ownership. Okay, I made a mistake. This is what happened. How can I move on from this? And putting in steps to overcome or to learn from it. And so, yeah, it's just about reframing and changing thought processes and looking at life that it is a beautiful mess at times, and that's okay. So, if everything was one way all the time, it wouldn't be, that's not life. Life is full of different colors, ups and downs, and that's just how it is.
I really like the way that you use this word beautiful. I think that really changes the script, doesn't it? Because I think when we make decisions in our lives that don't go in a way that we expect it, we do see it
Mm.
as mistakes rather than kind of learning curves or, that's just the way it was meant to be. Or so is it a case of changing the narrative? Is it that whole thing about seeing the glass as half full as opposed to half empty? Is that the way life is that the way we should continue to see life?
You know what? Some people might view life as a half empty and they're all right. You know what I mean? We're all different. So it's not about everyone has to conform to one way of thinking. It's about what works for you and what is determining what does a good successful life look like to me, and what are the steps that I can take to get there. And so I just wanted to go back. You mentioned when you're asking the question about assisting, is that something that I assist with? And that is like the key word, because a lot of people mistakenly think that a coach is going to fix all my problems, a coach is going to tell me what to do. Coaching is about bringing out what people already have inside them. So it's assisting and guiding and coaching one to bring out what is already within. So that
Mm.
it's amazing. I just love coaching. It's amazing. I mean, I was going through personal issues myself about going back 8, 9 years ago. So I went through a divorce, and going from that to single mom, um, trying to work full time, trying to keep a head above water, debts. I started a business, went through a lot, lost a whole lot of money, all my life savings. It was really bad.
Wow.
And I was like really at the point of like, if it wasn't for my children, like what am I doing here? And so going through a process of coaching just helped me to reevaluate and to change how I thought about myself. And it's an ongoing process, which is amazing, you know. So yeah, my perspective, on things wouldn't necessarily be the same as someone else's, but we're all, like as I was saying before, everyone, life is made up of different things, different colors, different personalities. So what works for someone might not necessarily be the same for you, but it's about uncovering and unpacking what is already within somebody and bringing that out.
Yeah, I think, that's really interesting that you say that, because we kind of don't always think that we have that in us. And
Yeah.
perhaps we come to a coach, we kind of want you to wave this magic wand,
Mm,
make things all better for us.
yeah,
And then, kind of nothing actually changes because, we have to recognize that we have to put some of the work in. And I guess that's part, the coach has to bring that out of somebody, isn't it? You would have to get people to see their full potential, because sometimes we don't always see that.
definitely. And it is work, like you said, but it will be worth it. You know, it does take work. For me, one of the hardest ones was taking that time to actually look deep within myself and challenge myself. And that's what coaching is. You can get through coaching, anyone could just get through it, but it depends what you want the outcome to be. If you want to just go surface level, just, answer this surface level, yeah, sure, great. We can all say positive things, but it does take work and it does take time. It is a process. Anyone, I guess, that truly who chooses coaching as an option for themselves, has already decided that they want to make a change and they want something to shift. So that was already a great starting point. And so, yeah, it's just about being committed and doing that personal work on ourselves, and for those around us.
And you spoke about the challenges that you've had to overcome in your life. And do you think that to be a coach that you should have also experienced challenges so you can understand what other people have experienced? Does that enhance kind of the way that you communicate with others, because you kind of know kind of where people are at or how they could be feeling?
I think it definitely helps. I mean, I first started, so my initial coaching was like around it within business. So helping people like with their careers. But I found that it's kind of hard to separate the two. The people that I was coaching, like their personal situations and what they were going through definitely had an impact on, choices that they were having to make for their career. So I was finding that I was able to draw on a lot of my own personal experience. Not to say that I'm always going to be, just sharing my story, making it because it's not about me, but just being able to have organic, natural, honest, open conversations with people that I'm working with. I think it definitely does help. And I mean, we've all gone through something, there's always something. It might be minor to you, it might be major to you, but there's always some kind of experience that we are always able to share that you never know what kind of impact that might have on somebody else's journey.
Yeah, I think, we're all very different. We're all at different stages, which is what you've actually said earlier. And so therefore the journeys are all very different. And you're absolutely right. We've all got a story to tell. And I guess, some of the challenges I think that perhaps we would struggle with is how to deal with that. How do we overcome those challenges? And taking shelter in a life coach, or a support mechanism of a support service or an individual, is how, a lot of us do that. I mean, can you give us some kind of like tips and ideas of kind of what would kind of be the route in terms of how would we begin to start this process of changing our lives, changing those thought processes?
Yeah, so great question. And I would say it starts with okay, making that decision.
Mm.
What do I want? What do I want in the next month? What do I want in the next year? What do I want in the next 5 years? And going from there. So we've all heard the saying, if you fail, or is it fail to plan, plan to fail? Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Not so much. I don't like the word failure, but
Right.
it's just about that. It's about taking ownership and making a plan. That's where it starts. So that's one tip. So that's something that I help people with as well, is goal setting.
Mm.
That's one of the packages, a big part of my coaching that I offer. And then also, I would say something that we could start immediately is looking at the routines that we have, taking a step to enhance and to take a minute for yourself. So it might be journaling. I know a lot of people talk about that, but there is so much power in writing, having a journal and opening it up and taking a pen, putting a pen to paper and releasing, that can be just so therapeutic. That's something that really helped me. Have to admit, I've kind of fallen off of it, but when I do get to certain times, that is definitely something that I always come back to.
And what
I
do you
find
write
that's
journaling? Do you write like all your inner thoughts, or I mean, like it's something I've wanted to do, but I almost kind of, I don't know, I feel frightened a little bit to put pen to paper, like maybe like what's gonna come out.
yeah. Sometimes it's like that, and that's the beauty of it. It's just for you. Sometimes it's been angry writing, sometimes a lot of times it's prayer. So my faith is a big part of my life. So I'm a Christian. So sometimes it is just writing out prayers. Sometimes it's writing to myself. Sometimes it is like thoughts about, okay, just steps like what's happened throughout this day. How did that make me feel? And just like literally just in the moment. Sometimes it is just literally just sitting there, just taking a deep breath, closing your eyes, and like, what do I want to write? It might be a whole page, it might be a sentence. And that's the beauty of it. There isn't a right or wrong. It's your personal outlet for yourself. No one's going to see it. No one's going to judge you for it. And yeah, you can do what you want with it. You can tear it up. You can keep it to go back to it. It's just a nice release. It's very therapeutic, I find. So that's definitely something I
I like
recommend.
this idea of writing to yourself.
Yeah.
What would I write to myself? I think, being kinder to myself, I think, being more gentle with myself. And yeah, I've never really thought about journaling in terms of writing to yourself, and being kind to yourself. Yeah, because
Definitely.
we're like our worst judgments.
Absolutely. Yeah, our worst judge. And I mean, a good one for that as well, but this one might take time. If you struggle with being kind to yourself, this is definitely something that I go back to, and something that my coach supported me through is mirror work. So literally looking at yourself in a mirror and just looking at yourself, and you're not allowed to say anything unkind about yourself. So that saying, if you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say it at all. The point is to get you to a point where you're able to look at yourself and be able to compliment yourself, and so there's no negativity. Because sometimes we often look in the mirror, we're doing our hair, we're doing our makeup, and you're just glancing, but you're not really taking time to look at yourself, but to truly just be there and be comfortable with yourself. I find that's something that a lot of us struggle with. So yeah, that one takes time.
Yes.
At certain times of the month, it might not be quite easy. You might be tempted, depending on how that affects you. But yeah, I think that is really just so powerful in getting you to focus and just really focus on yourself, to center yourself, and to be like, how am I feeling? What am I feeling about myself right now? And just to own that. Okay, I'm feeling a bit annoyed with you right now. Why? And just okay. And then just talk us through that, why you feel annoyed, and then just, having that conversation. And then hopefully you'll get to a point where, okay, do you know what? That's happened. And then letting it go. It's about not judging yourself. That's the point, is like to be able to have a conversation with yourself open and freely, and to not condemn or judge. but you're getting to a point of acceptance of who you are and the choices that you've made, etc. Yeah.
That's interesting that you say that. Is that part of the, when people put like, is it like they'll put it in flames or they'll set fire to it or they'll rip it up? I think you mentioned ripping it up. That's the whole process of kind of letting it go, right? So you say something, is that right? And then you just kind of let it go, or do we keep that? Or
To me, it's a personal thing. However you feel about it, like there's no ritual or anything to that. Like that's not. No, I'm not talking about that. It's really a case of just having that release. It's, if we hold things in and don't address things, it's just going to bubble up and build up. Some people, like, they might go for a run and that's their outlet. It's literally about that and just releasing and letting things go. Because, you hold on to things, it can physically make you sick. You get headaches, you get stressed and stuff like that. So it's just having those personal processes that you are going to firstly acknowledge, taking, like I would say, taking responsibility is not the same as holding on to blame, and so that they're different things. So it's all well and good. Yeah, we can take responsibility for things, but I'm not going to hold on to that. Can you change things? Can you go back and change things? No. But is there something that you might be able to do to rectify a situation? Sure. Then you can make steps to do that, but then you're going to have to let it go. And that's what that is. It's about making a choice within yourself to not hold on to things.
Yes, because I think we're kind of like, I think, that going back to that mirror thing, when we look in that mirror, we do see a lot of imperfections, not just in looks, but just in our character, about ourselves. And so, yeah, that's such a good way of kind of dealing with that. And what about kind of, is there a way to overcome challenges through humor? Can we have the word humor, laughter in one sentence as challenging and trauma? Can we have that all in one sentence? Is there a way to do that?
That's a good question. I would be, everyone is different in, like, I would say their tolerance levels, but I feel like if you can get to a point, like I said, it's about being able to release. You might be able to get to a point and, to be able to not laugh like ha ha ha, but there is, I mean, apologies for those who are not of the faith, but like I said, as a Christian, and there's a profound scripture that it says that the Lord gives us joy in place of mourning. So it's not to say that there's laughter and humor in darkness, but it is a replacing of that. I don't know if I make it sense. So you're in that state, but then once you are, so in my situation, if I would use a situation where I am surrendering and I'm praying and calling out to the Lord to help, that He offers joy in place of that. So yes, I've gone around the circle. I would say that there is humor, there is joy, that there is happiness that can be found in the dark places of trauma.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely get what you said there, because I think in troubled times, during those times, it can be really dark, depressing. It can affect our mental health. I mean, it can take us down some real wobbly roads. And that's the reason why I asked that, because we need to be lifted out of that on some level. And even if, like, that whole, there's that saying, like, when you weather the storm, then after that, there can only be, sunshine after that. There can only be, there has to be some element of joy that comes out of it,
Absolutely.
And so that's why I mentioned that, because I think, when we're struggling and we're going through pain or trauma or overcoming challenges, we have to know that we can, at some point, laugh. We can, there's going to be light at the end of this tunnel.
Absolutely. Otherwise, what are we here for? What are we doing?
Right.
What's the point?
Yes. Interesting. And other ways that, that you can that you help people to go through that journey, does it happen over a long period of time? Is there weeks? Is it months that you work with people, or is that just all different according to the individual?
Yeah, so there's a couple of options. So one is we could do like an intensive for people that, just want a quick boost. That would usually be for someone that might have gone through a program before, and that's like a one session. And then there's one that we work together for a month, and then another one up to 3 months. So that's like a more detailed and intense program, and that will go through on a weekly basis. So, like we were saying before, it does take work, it does take time and investment into yourself. So, yeah, meeting on a weekly basis is quite intense. But if you're thinking about the long term plan and long term goal, what you want to achieve, then that's definitely something to consider.
Yeah, it's interesting. You use that word investment in ourselves, right? We do lots of surface stuff, right? We'll
Yep,
go and we'll like spend money on our hair, we'll buy a new
yep,
outfit, we'll do all the kind of external stuff.
yep.
And many times, we hear that we don't invest in ourselves. So being able to take that time out and really look inward and work from inside out, I guess that's what we'll be looking to do if we was to work with somebody, somebody like a life coach or somebody like yourself. Is that kind of the way that you kind of operate, working inside out?
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Just as you said, there's so many things that we invest our time and money in, but how much of that really is benefiting us, for the long term. So this is a short-term investment, but you're looking at a long-term gain because it's to help and adjust and impact for the better your whole life. So, and that's not just for yourself. If you're a better person, if feeling better about yourself, and who knows what impact you're going to have on the people that are around you as well. So, yeah, it's far reaching. And
Mm,
like I said, I've been through it myself, and it's definitely um, well worth the investment.
that's amazing. And how can people find you? How can people get hold of you if they wanted to explore this further with you?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say the best one would be to email me. I do have socials, etc., but I think to email me directly would be best. So my email address is info at Corrine, and that's CORRINE hyphen Ebony EBONY.co.uk.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Corinne,
you.
inviting us into what it's like to have support from a professional life coach. And we really appreciate you sharing your story and being transparent with kind of the way that you have overcome your own personal challenges in life and to now become a successful coach. So I really appreciate your time today and thank you for joining
Thank
us
you.
on today's podcast. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you for having me. And I hope it's been helpful to your listeners.